Welcome to This Explainer. If you've ever felt like a total outsider while standing right in the middle of a crowded room, you've probably caught yourself thinking, what is wrong with me? Well, today we're going to take that perceived personal flaw and flip it on its head. We're breaking down the raw psychology of why brilliant minds so often face profound social isolation. So let's really get into this. Is struggling to make friends an actual flaw, or is there a brutal, scientifically backed truth going on here? It's so incredibly common to just internalize this stuff and assume, hey, I'm just awkward. I lack social skills. But the psychology tells a completely different story. Have you ever heard of the Savannah theory of happiness? It's this evolutionary psychology framework, and it actually suggests that for highly intelligent individuals, the more frequently they socialize with friends, the lower their overall life satisfaction tends to be. Crazy, right? It's not that you can't socialize, it's that your baseline for happiness operates on a totally different wavelength. The hard truth here is that your lack of effortless connection, it has absolutely nothing to do with being awkward. It's because your highly intelligent brain literally rejects group behavior. Your mind is hardwired for depth, for finding the truth, and for this really profound sense of independence. You aren't missing the social cues at all. Your brain is just fundamentally uninterested in playing the standard social game. And man, this disconnect causes so much internal friction. Society just kind of assumes that highly intelligent people have life completely figured out, right? Like, if you're smart, you must have it easy in every single category. But the reality, the raw science of it all, shows that your specific wiring for truth inherently makes you an outsider. Having a brilliant mind often comes with this heavy price tag of isolation. So let's unpack exactly why this happens. Okay, let's look at our first core psychological trait, high individualism. This leads directly to what psychologists call low social conformity. In plain English, it means you actively question the rules that everyone else just blindly accepts. You're not going to follow trends, you don't just mimic what the group is doing, and you absolutely refuse to conform just for the sake of fitting in. There's just this massive, stark contrast between your independent thinking and the standard group mentality that, let's face it, most typical friendships are built on. On one side, you've got group mentality, mimicking behavior, accepting the easy answers, just kind of going with the flow. But on the other side, you've got high individualism. You're thinking independently, you're craving complexity, and you are constantly challenging the status quo. Because your high intelligence makes you the person constantly asking why, while everyone else just follows along, you naturally stick out. And here is a pretty brutal truth about social dynamics. People bond over sameness, not difference. When everyone else is nodding in agreement and you're the one poking holes in the consensus, you end up quietly stepping back. It's a double-edged sword, really. This extreme independence absolutely keeps you honest, but it also ultimately keeps you alone. All right, moving on to the second trait of the highly intelligent mind, high social perception. Think of this as an intense psychological radar that gives you a practically zero-tolerance policy for inauthenticity. You don't just hear what people say, you see exactly what they're doing. You instantly spot fake behavior, forced laughter, attention-seeking drama, you name it, you spot it from a mile away. It's kind of like sitting through a poorly acted play where you're the only one in the audience who realizes it's a script. Like when a coworker is giving you an excruciatingly detailed story about their totally mundane weekend, and you're pretending to be riveted, while internally your brain is just screaming for the nearest exit. And because you see right through that performance, you just stop playing along. Once you spot the truth behind someone's behavior, you absolutely refuse to fake interest. You have zero desire to flatter people or pretend to be impressed just to grease the social wheels. But here's the catch. In a world built on surface-level validation, your realness makes people super uncomfortable. Your authenticity exposes their performance, so people naturally pull away, often mistaking your quiet independence for pride and your silence for just plain arrogance. Because of all this, while the rest of the world operates happily on small talk, your brain is actively starving for the complex, heavy topics that most people try to avoid over lunch. Superficial chatter, simple answers, they do absolutely nothing for you. You crave deep, meaningful conversations. You want to talk about philosophy, psychology, abstract ideas. You want to question authority and tradition and the unwritten rules of society itself. But that profound craving for depth, it can leave you feeling incredibly disconnected. You start feeling alienated from people who just prefer the simple, easy answers. This constant hunger for complexity is exactly why you can feel profoundly isolated and totally misunderstood, even when you are literally standing in the middle of a packed room. You're basically speaking a different language, a language of depth that the people around you just aren't tuned into. Now, let's talk about a major internal trap, your own hyper self-awareness. People who don't have a lot of friends tend to overthink every single social interaction. Your brain gets stuck in this exhausting three-step loop. Step 1, you replay conversations in your head. Step 2, you dissect every single word to figure out how you came across. And step 3, you are constantly monitoring how others might perceive you. This forces your brain into this constant mental observation mode. You're analyzing the interaction instead of just relaxing and actually bonding with the person. This intense self-awareness actually works against you. Because your brain is so busy analyzing people, you physically can't fully let your guard down. And humans are highly intuitive, right? They can sense that internal analytical tension. So even when you are trying your absolute hardest to connect, they interpret your observation mode as emotional distance. Which brings us to our final, and honestly, maybe the most impactful trait: emotional self-reliance. This is your ability to regulate your own emotions internally. Most standard friendships are built on small, everyday dependencies, shared emotions, mutual reassurance, constantly texting back and forth. But highly intelligent people rarely need those things. On paper, that sounds like incredible emotional strength. But in the real world, it practically guarantees isolation. Here's the harsh reality about human connection. It fundamentally thrives on vulnerability. Because of your extreme emotional self-reliance, you never really ask for help. You don't show emotional need. And when you do that, people subconsciously feel totally useless around you. You aren't actively pushing them away or anything. You just don't give them any space to matter in your emotional life. So over time, feeling unneeded, they just stop trying. So as you're processing all of this, remember something really important. Your highly intelligent, precise mind didn't just suddenly break. Most highly intelligent people don't lose their friend groups overnight. It's a gradual thing. Your mind simply grew way too self-aware and way too precise for a social world that basically runs on emotional noise. At your very core, your psychological wiring values truth and authenticity way more than it values just belonging to a group. The absolute biggest takeaway from this explainer should be a profound sense of validation. The hard truth is, not having a wide circle of friends does not mean you are broken. You don't need to change yourself. You don't need to dilute your personality or fake your behavior just to squeeze into a mold that was never built for you in the first place. You just need to understand and really accept the raw science of who you are and how your mind actually works. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to consider as you navigate your own path forward. Are you willing to embrace the solitude, to stand completely alone until you find the rare, authentic people who can actually match your mind and meet you in that space of profound depth? I really invite you to reflect on these traits: the high individualism, the low social conformity, the hyper self-awareness, and that extreme emotional self-reliance. Think about which of these truly shapes your independent mind. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and remember, keep valuing the truth of your own psychology.